Good morning and happy Sunday to you. The Lord is with you. This morning, I hope that you are gathered in your home. Some of you may be living alone, but there are two groups of people that I would especially like to address some reflections to this morning. All the parishioners at St. Stephen's and all of our young people at St. Patrick's. I wish you a day in which you hear Jesus speaking right to you and opening up your hearts to what he wants to bring to life in you in the coming week. Today, in the Gospel of John, chapter 11, verses 1 to 45, there's the beautiful story of Lazarus and his two sisters, Martha and Mary. And the Gospels tell us in several places that Jesus had a great friendship, that he loved Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. A crisis came about when Lazarus became very sick. And the two sisters sent for Jesus. They sent messengers who would go to where he was, miles and miles away, on foot. And by the time Jesus could arrive, a few days later, Lazarus had died and was already buried. But the sisters put their faith in Jesus. And the story makes you and I reflect on the fact that when Jesus is present, there are no limits to what he can do in our lives. And Jesus does not waste the opportunity of a crisis to act in our lives. This crisis that we're living right now, all of us closed up in our homes, a crisis that's felt all around the world. There's opportunity in it. The Lord wants to bring to birth something that may have died in me or in you. He is not punishing us with this epidemic. He is not testing us. He walks right into the crisis with us and uses it as an opportunity, just as he did back in the days of Martha, Mary, and Lazarus. I'm going to tell you a brief story about a young man in St. Patrick's Parish by the name of Miguel Angel Felix. Some of our young people at St. Patrick's know him. When he was 17, he was arrested and sent to jail for robbery, and for 14 years, you might say he was in a tomb like Lazarus. And he could have come out bitter or angry. When he got out of prison, he looked me up again. I had known him when he was a teenager. And he came and said, "Father, I want to work with the people who are incarcerated. I want to help their families, and I want to begin visiting them." And 5 years later, he has done that and gathered people around him who are helping him. So what do you think he did when this crisis began, this pandemic? He called me up and he said, "Father, I'll bet there are some people living alone who don't have anyone to go and get food for them. I have a team of young men, and we will go out and we will shop, and we will be very careful with our cleanliness, and we will bring the food right to the person's door." This week, we're publishing Miguel's phone number in our webpage, along with one of the other young men on his team, Heriberto Delgado. And I think that just gives me a great lesson on what someone who has been given a second chance, like Lazarus was, what we might do in our lives. I can't answer this question for you, but I leave this question with you this morning. What is it that the Lord wants to bring back to birth in you? What has died in you? What might you do this week for someone else? A phone call? a letter, text, sending a picture to someone. Who needs you? You can't get out of your house, but you can get out of your tomb. And you can find that Jesus will do wonderful things in this time of crisis. He just doesn't lose the opportunity of using a crisis to bring about something beautiful and good. Have a very good day with your families. Pray for one another. Know that we are all together in spirit, and we will all be together again one day in our beautiful churches.